What do you think is constructive feedback, and how can a manager give it?
So first, let's talk about the whole idea of feedback. Why it is needed? It is needed for course correction. Imagine you want to go somewhere and you set your map on Google from whatever current location to destination. And now as you're going, if you go off, the Google machine or the lady, Google lady has to tell you to come back. If she does not, then you would really go far and you won't meet the expectations. So you might work really, really hard and you still feel that the work is not giving me the kind of success I should get because you're not working in the expected manner. So feedback is needed so that people can tell you what is expected of you. So your same efforts can be more effective. So that's the first thing. So we must be open to the idea that I want to know how with less efforts I can achieve more results. And for that, I need to know what is expected of me. So feedback is the way to do it. Second, every feedback is not a good feedback. Okay, I'm going to take this line again. Every feedback is not necessary or not good for you. So people believe that if I hear somebody's feedback, I have to agree with it. No, you don't have to agree with it. You can process it, you can hear it, you can absorb it, you can say, thank you for giving me this feedback. But then you can process and decide whether you want to implement it or not.
What does the employee do in that situation? How should the employee manage that tricky discussion as a subordinate from their perspective, that the session is useful for them and for their career progression in the future?
First of all, any mistake that you have done teaches you something if you're willing to learn. And if your manager is really on board and not there to criticize you for that matter, not vindictive in that nature, I believe they are. In that context, they want to know if you made a mistake, okay, probably that was a blunder, but what did you learn and how are you going to avoid that? So when people are supposed to or about to talk about your problem, first of all, get your defenses down. Because it's okay to make mistakes as long as you own up to those mistakes. Most of the time, we don't want to own up to our mistakes. We just want to avoid this and we want to run away from it. We want to hide under the carpet. We made a mistake and it was a blunder. And when the person owns up to the mistake and says, okay, this happened, but these are the three things I learned, or these are the three ways in which we can avoid it. And if you're mentally prepared for these two topics, what did you learn and how could you avoid it in the future? A rational manager would understand that it was a mistake and you learned from it. Okay. Having said that, I believe taking accountability for any mistake is only fair in this game. So if somebody is badgering you or somebody is criticizing you, then ask them, how can you change something or how can you compensate for it? Because there are consequences. We don't want to take it. But if you mentally tell yourself, if I broke something, I'm supposed to pay for it. If I damage something, I will take responsibility. We'll try to make it as less as possible with our other learnings and everything. But if it really comes to that point, just mentally prepare yourself. Okay, that is the worst thing. For example, if I lose this job because of this mistake, how do I find a new one? If my promotion is not what was due and I was working towards it is not given to me, what can I do with that? Should I then look for another? So when you think about all the possibilities that you're dreading, your mind starts becoming calmer. And by the time you reach the actual moment of conversation, instead of overthinking and worrying about it, you would have created a little plan of okay, if this happens, this is a way out. If that happens, that is a way out. Only overthinking will not solve the problem. Only worrying about the worst come scenario won't solve the problem.
How do you think one can give constructive feedback to their managers? If yes, how do you think they can do that without stinging or hurting their ego to a point?
So whenever it comes to feeling overworked or somebody dumping work at you, and if you want to give feedback like that, you can't do that in a direct manner, because we have to first open the communication channel. So I always recommend this to people, that if your boss is giving you a lot of work and if you don't have space to do it, then you have to learn how to communicate. And I'm going to use little coaching language. You adapt it to your own way of going about it. But it's a nice hack. You tell the person that right now I'm working on this priority project A, and if you want something urgent for project B, I will have to stop working on project A and get to it. I'm very happy to do it, but can you please help me decide which one do you want me to prioritize. Now, when you 2-3 times say this to that person, they start realizing that you're overworked. Did you give feedback? Yeah, you did, but you didn't do it in like, let me tell you something, because that level of authority bosses in Indian culture or otherwise do not have. But this is a way of giving feedback. It's like, if there is a bag that you're carrying, and if you're putting things in the bag, the handle starts stretching, that's feedback. And at one point it starts tearing, that's feedback. But if you don't see that, you will just keep dumping things without knowing that the bag is tearing off. So you got to also start giving those signals as feedback. So we understand feedback as it's a very interesting thing. If you want to build rapport with someone, even with your boss or anyone, and if you want to break through that toxic relationship, invite feedback.